Very proud of the fact that I happen to be a Malayali who was born in London, brought up initially in Bombay, went to high school in Calcutta and college in Delhi. So I really do have my roots all over this country, friends and classmates in and from each of these cities, and so I'm really very pleased to have my allegiance claimed by any one of these places, because I do feel in many ways at home in all of them. When Dr. Isaac Mathai asked me to say a few words today, I must say I didn't quite know what usefully I could contribute on this occasion. All of us are probably used to getting tons of messages at this time. In fact, I dread opening my emails or my WhatsApp or my SMSs for the hundreds of, frankly, rather repetitive and fairly mindless messages that come. And in some ways the sentiments that are common to these are sentiments that all of us would share. That is, the year is over, it is a time to leave things behind, just as the year itself is leaving us behind. This year has been an extraordinarily turbulent one in the world. A lot of things have happened. We've had political convulsions, which of course I've had to follow closely given my own role and interests. I happened to be in London when the British voted to leave the European Union, to everyone's astonishment. And I was in India, not in America, when on the same day Mr. Trump was elected president and Mr. Modi took away 86% of our money. So in many ways it has been quite a convulsive year in all sorts of ways. A year in which the unexpected has happened. At least those three examples were, I think, in all fairness, all deeply unexpected. None of them could have been foretold by the pollsters or the political soothsayers, but they all happened. And in some ways this has been a year that has taught us how important it is, it seems to me, to be prepared for the unexpected. And that might be, after this year of turbulence, the simplest message to take into the new year, which is that none of us knows what lies ahead for us, for our families, for our businesses or workplaces, for our country and for the world in the year ahead. But I think everything depends on how we face it, with what resilience we are prepared to cope with the unexpected, and where we find our strength, whether it is in God, whether it is in our own other interests or practices in our families, but where we find our strength to deal with the changes that are inevitable. None of us is going to be quite the same at this time next year as we were today, and we are not the same today as we were at this time last year. If for no other reason than that the world has turned, the world has moved on, and in the process we have all had experiences in the course of the last 12 months that we could not have foreseen on December 31 last year. You know, it's interesting, there's the expression that in Hinduism is very common, that you can never step into the same river twice. And the logic is very simple, that as the river keeps flowing, once you have stepped into it, the river has moved on, and when you step into it again, it's a different river, in a sense. Different things have gone into it, different currents, different experiences. That is what life, I think, gives us all, is these different experiences. How we cope with them, and then what we do with them, is really the stuff, I suppose, or what a meaningful message might be. So in thinking about what I would say about how we can cope about next year, it struck me that I had written a poem for my children a couple of years ago, which I thought might be interesting to share with you all. It's a fairly simple poem, and it doesn't have any rhyme or meter or any of the wonderful things that good poetry should have, because I'm not much of a poet. But the sentiments are genuine, and I hope they may have some meaning for all of you too. So with your permission, I'll share with you this, what I called when I sent it to the New Year's wishes for my children. And they happen to be boys, so I speak of boys, but these are wishes, I think, for all our children. I see a couple of young boys at the back. I hope it applies to them as well. This year, my sons, I wish you the joy of hopes and dreams and the fulfillment of achieving some of those dreams. This year, my sons, I wish you the intimate knowledge of what it means to love and be loved as if there is nothing more important in the world. This year, my sons, I wish you the strength of your convictions, the passion to defend them, and the wisdom to accept when you may be wrong. This year, my sons, I wish you laughter in your lives, music around you, and the pleasure of silence when you crave it. This year, my sons, I wish you understanding of people who may have hurt you, misunderstood you, or been unjust to you, because the world must be accepted as it is and understood rather than resented. This year, my sons, I wish you health and strength and virtue, all three together, because they complement each other and because one without the other two is useless. This year, my sons, I wish you intensity, never indifference, knowledge, never ignorance, energy, never lassitude, desire, never hatred. This year, my sons, I wish you acceptance, because some pain is inevitable in life, and to accept it and deal with it is part of what will make you men worthy of respect. This year, my sons, I wish you courage to face whatever misfortunes and injustices might come your way, and I wish you determination to fight for the right and to resist the wrong. This year, my sons, and every year, I wish you to be happy, and for that, above all, I wish you to be yourselves, for no one can be a better you than you yourself. Happy New Year. So this was my message to my children, and in some ways is a message to all of us, really. However young we may be, it may not be too late for us to think of living life on our own terms, but embracing, I hope, this way of reacting to it. As I say, we don't know what the year will hold for us, but how we react to it makes a big difference. We're all here in SOUKYA. I'm sure most of us who are in the clinic are here for ourselves, for our own health and well-being, to restore whatever we feel needs restoring as the old year ends and the new year dawns. But it may also be a time for us to remember as we leave this place that there are others outside who perhaps in our own way we can make a difference. We all had the opportunity of commemorating Christmas a week ago, and while I'm not a Christian, I have studied in a number of Christian educational institutions. I've read the Bible a couple of times as a work of literature as well as of philosophy. I've had some interesting conversations with Christian priests, including theological disputes. So I can speak with some boldness, I think, that even I, as a non-Christian, can claim to interpret a certain message of Christmas. And to me that comes from the simple fact of what the story is about. It commemorates the birth of Christ. And Christ is the Son of God. And where is the Son of God born? I mean, if any of us who can afford to come to SOUKYA can also imagine our child being born, we would probably find a nice 5-star hospital with the latest facilities and the most modern machines and the best doctors and nurses before our child is born. But where does God send his child to be born? Into a manger, after his mother goes from door to door unable to find a bed for the night. And on a bed of straw, this child is born. It seems to me that it conveys a specific message. A message that if God has to convey something as precious as his own child into the world, that he does so amongst people who have nothing, amongst animals, a place where animals live, a place where only the poor will probably venture. And that this gives a whole new meaning to the idea of the Christmas gift, because we've all given and received Christmas gifts, probably just last week. But perhaps the greatest gift of all is that of reaching out to those who have nothing or have very little, and helping them to, in some ways, go better with their conditions in life. And we can all do that. I think we don't have to be in social work, as Dr. Mathai and Suja have been doing through their foundation. You don't have to be in politics, where some of us do try and use our influence to change things for the better for our people. You don't really have to be anything. You can just be yourself and still find a way of reaching out to help. It doesn't have to be with money if you don't have enough to spare. It can be through your time, through your smile, through your caring. And I think if that could be another message I would leave with all of you as we embark on the New Year's. Let us, next year, try and give of ourselves to the others around us. The famous poet John Donne wrote 400 years ago that no man is an island. We are all surrounded by human beings. None of us is born in isolation. And if we can make a difference to some of those human beings by the mere fact of us having been born, that I think would have been a year well spent, and eventually a life well spent. And so here in SOUKYA, I think my wish and prayer for all of you is that you may always be happy and make others also happy. And I was actually reminded today of a Sanskrit mantra that a Jesuit priest whom I know had taught me, which happens to be, by coincidence, the very mantra with which we close our morning yoga sessions at SOUKYA, which I think is a very good message for the new year. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve shantu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukhabhat bhavet. May all be happy, may all be without illness, may all see good things, may no one experience suffering. What a wonderful message, and what a wonderful place for us all to wish for in the new year. Thank you all, and Happy New Year to everyone.